March 2021, the Fagra Dulviak volcano in Iceland ends a nearly 900-year dormancy with an explosive blast. It's beautiful, but what's really eye-catching is this. A live feed camera set up to observe the eruption captures what appears to be two mysterious blue orbs hovering in the plume of smoke above the lava. Both seem unfazed by the heat and toxic gases. And when we zoom into one, we can see just how blue it is. There are roughly 50 volcanic eruptions going on at any time around the world, and many include strange lights and flying objects like these at Arenal Volcano in Costa Rica, and this incident in Puebla, Mexico, near the volcano called Popocatépetl. In fact, sightings near volcanoes are so common, filmmaker Darcy Weir produced a documentary called Volcanic UFO Mysteries about the phenomenon.
We have so much documented evidence of UFOs around the volcanoes. It's possible that they may be energy events that could be offering a fueling supply to some of the UFO craft.
Just one volcano can produce more power than the combined nuclear arsenals of the United States, China, and Russia. So UFOs could use the heat from the lava to store and produce energy. Or another theory, volcanoes provide access to a network of underground alien bases all over the world.
Some people believe, well, if you build a base in a place that's very dangerous for people to visit, mankind that is, well, that's a perfect defense and no-go area.
This goes back at least as far as 1947. Aviator Kenneth Arnold was flying over Mount Rainier, a dormant stratovolcano, and he claimed he saw a string of flying saucers. He's credited with coining that term. So why are UFOs attracted to volcanoes? And what exactly are we seeing in this video? Let's ask our experts. Let's consider the earthly explanations. First, could these be drones trying to record the eruption?
Geologists studying volcanic eruptions will use drones that remotely transmit video back for scientific reasons.
The temperature of lava spewing from a volcanic vent can reach 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt most earthly metals. For a drone, that would be a short one-way trip. But these orbs were visible for at least 30 minutes, far longer than drones could take the heat. And when we look at the volcano in daylight, a whole new set of theories arises. It's surrounded by hills, so maybe the orbs aren't actually in the air. They're on hillsides on the far side of the volcano. Could they be tourists or scientists with flashlights standing nearby to study the lava flow?
Where the temperature around you could approach 500 degrees just in the air around you, where a piece of paper that you put down on the ground will instantly light up on fire and flash to flame immediately. It's very hot. It's not a place for humans. They could not be flashlights in my view.
So maybe the answer is that the orbs spewed from the volcano itself and landed on the surrounding hills. D'Antonio notes their strange color.
You can have what has been termed as blue lava. It's actually sulfur that's burning. And burning sulfur burns blue.
Also known by the Indonesian term api biru, blue lava usually burns along the ground and not in the air, and it's not often seen in Iceland. Looking close, the stationary orbs do appear to be flatter on the bottom, suggesting they may actually be sitting on a surrounding slope.
It's a very rare phenomenon, but it does happen. And I think that we're actually witnessing blue lava here as well. I think that it's fascinating.
So we know blue lava is rare in Iceland, but that's going to be our verdict, at least for now. Still, that doesn't explain all those UFO sightings around volcanoes the world over. Darcy Weir continues to investigate the subject, and we will too. July 13th, 2020, landscape gardener Ben Landricombe is on a camping trip in Devon, England. There, in the sylvan silence, he comes upon a scene that looks anything but natural.
When we walked about 15 minutes into the forest, it felt really eerie, and the woods were really dense and just felt a bit of an eerie place. Then there was this big, like a crater, like a perfect circle.
Uprooted trees create an oval-shaped clearing. Take a good look. There's no evidence of professional logging or landscaping. We slow down the video, and you can see the damage seems to be about 60 feet across, with blown down trees right next to ones that are perfectly upright. Did something large land here?
Well, it's definitely a mystery. Who knows what it could be, but I've never had an answer back to me straight saying what it is. So I'll still believe it's a UFO landing site.
Journalist Aaron McCarthy says after it was posted, Ben's video made international headlines, with many comparing it to another English phenomenon associated with possible UFO landing sites.
To me, whenever I see something like this, I think of things like crop circles, because they are just really pushed down with some force. It doesn't look natural.
Southern England is the site of the famous Rendlesham Forest incident of 1980. Sightings of unexplained lights in the sky that became known as Britain's Roswell. So did Ben stumble upon the footprints of a British UFO, or something we can't even guess? We turn to our experts for a closer look. Our military analyst Tim McMillan considers the possibility that a secret or experimental aircraft might have crashed here.
If you're talking about any type of aircraft, falling out of the sky or crash lands, you're going to have an impact crater and you're going to see debris. So you would see a lot more going on. Definitely some physical evidence that would support any type of crash of anything.
Now, some have suggested this could have been caused by a meteor. If such a strike created a crater here, it happened long enough ago for most of the displaced Earth to fill in. But these trees look like they were felled recently. They're still green.
That doesn't really suggest that there was enough time for all of that meteor impact to have filled in and covered over in that kind of time.
If it's not a meteor, what about meteorology?
It doesn't take a terribly strong tornado to knock a tree over. Another possibility is what's known as a microburst, and that is something where a really intense downdraft forms within the thunderstorm, and it comes crashing out of the storm and then spreads out really violently, almost like you think about like a bomb went off.
Tornadoes and microbursts are uncommon in England, but Hints looked up the weather history of that area to see if either is a possibility.
So when I looked at the radar, there were a series of intense thunderstorms that were causing flooding and all sorts of damage throughout this part of England. My best guess is that, given the damage pattern, a concentrated gust of winds happened to tear through that particular part of the forest and knock those trees down.
So, our verdict? Based on Dr. Hintz's analysis, we're going to say this seemingly supernatural event can be explained by the weather. Most likely a hyper-local wind burst of 90 miles an hour or so. But Ben says that can't explain the eerie, otherworldly feeling he experienced in those woods. To him, the mystery remains unsolved. It's Independence Day in Alamance, North Carolina, and a local man is enjoying a barbecue with his family. Fireworks are going off intermittently, so he's been looking at the sky all evening, when he suddenly sees something even more spectacular.
It's moving, but it's moving slow.
It's a classic orb-shaped UFO, the kind we've seen in several videos, some real, some fake. And what makes this footage extra special is that it goes on for more than 8 minutes.
God, I wish I had some binoculars.
Now look at what happens here at the 6.5-minute mark.
Oh, wow.
Hey, look at that.
Something's coming off of it. Two things are coming off of it.
Where's that at? Where is it at?
One went up and one's coming down.
Where is it?
Holy crap. Look at this.
The orb seems to bifurcate, and seconds later, it splits again.
Oh, now something's coming out of the other one. Holy. Third one's coming out.
There's 3 different. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Like other orbs seen around the world, this one had no wings or obvious means of propulsion. It's hard to judge its speed, but others have been clocked by commercial pilots at over 500 miles per hour.
And it's pulsating too, man. That is nuts.
Journalist Alexis Brooks, who writes and speaks about UFOs, says the duration of this sighting is important.
Some individuals that have long contact encounters, that is, exceeding 5 minutes or more, may actually be having a literal contact encounter without them being consciously aware of it. Could it be that non-human intelligence or the occupants of the craft were actually making contact with the witness and vice versa?
Yeah, we got some action going on here, boys.
The witness said he later tried to find some earthly explanation for the incident, even checking with a nearby military base. But to this day, he says he's gotten no answers. Our experts may be able to change that. Our video analyst, Mark D'Antonio, begins by looking at the surrounding factors involved in this event.
I stepped through it frame by frame to try to isolate the components and equate them with something that we might already know. It's actually pretty high altitude.
For starters, D'Antonio's positive it couldn't be a bird.
Birds don't have that kind of reflectivity to them. Even geese at high altitude, you can still detect that they're birds.
He's just as sure it's not a plane or a drone.
Planes and drones, they have to follow Federal Aviation Administration rules for lighting, and this object had none of that.
Nor could it be a natural phenomenon like a meteor. It just hangs in the sky too long.
Meteors are momentary objects. They go through the sky, and then they're gone.
So what was it? The secret could be in that strange splitting.
Here you can see, in this image, you can see how it's a teardrop shape, and these objects are falling away. And the object that's way up there has changed brightness tremendously. Now, my thinking takes me down the path of weather balloon.
It certainly wouldn't be the first time a weather balloon was mistaken for a UFO. In fact, the government initially claimed it was a weather balloon that caused the Roswell incident. But that still doesn't explain how this thing could split apart and move off in different directions.
I would guess that this is a weather balloon where whatever was attached to it broke off. And when something like this happens, the resistance of the air will tend to streamline it and make it more into a teardrop shape. And that shape is what I think we're seeing here.
That theory sounds plausible, but then, to our surprise, atmospheric scientist Deanna Hintz shoots it out of the sky.
So I do think it's really unlikely that this is any kind of, weather instrument. They come down on a little parachute, and they wouldn't emit light this brightly like this. But it doesn't seem to be meteorologically related.
You see it, Dean? You see a UFO?
So, America, is it proof or not? It doesn't appear to be a bird or a plane. Could it be a weather balloon? Maybe. But a local weather service later told the witness there were none in the area. Until we get more solid information, we're going to call this a genuine UFO.